Hello, and welcome to Nightlight. My name is Tom Snarski, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this, our 25th Nightlight poetry reading event. I am especially excited to be welcoming a really, really stellar group of readers tonight in Paige Taggart, Sam Starkweather, Lauren Hunter, and Ben Mirov. I'm so glad that these folks could join. This is like a reading with a dream lineup for me. Usually I just like start these nightlight readings by reading off of a Google Doc that I put together before the reading, but I just want to shout out really quick that this A is an amazing group of readers, but B, it's a group of folks whose books I got like a smattering of books here with me. I've got Paige's Want for Lion in here somewhere. I've got the first four books of Sampson Starkweather. I've got Human Achievements, which is going to not necessarily show up amazingly because I did not pick good lighting for this. And I've got Hyder Roser in here. These are books that have moved house with me. I've given away copies of them. When Christy and I moved in together, we had to give away copies of things like Human Achievements because we realized we had multiple copies of these books. So this is a group of poets who not only I've been reading for like a decade, but also like I was a kid in college when I first started reading some of these books, and I didn't know what like poetry even was. And so the fact that I've got the group of folks who shaped what poetry kind of even is for me is like just really, really special and beautiful. So glad that you all are here. This is amazing. I just keep admitting people from the waiting room because we got a great group in the audience as well, which is so, so cool. If you haven't joined Nightlight before, we are a recurring series. We usually do one of these, usually on the third Thursday of every month at like 9 p.m. Eastern. We're on social media in a couple places at Nightlight Poems, and would love to hear from you. We'll also use that platform to post a recording of the reading in case you know somebody who would benefit from the amazing work that you're going to hear tonight and they're not here with us right now. Send them the links, make them listen to poems. Nothing bad can happen when you do that, surely. And Ben's in the waiting room, so I'm gonna let Ben in too. Amazing. Yeah, so without any further ado, I would love to get things started by introducing our first reader, who I also want to give a special thanks to because she helped coordinate this reading. So I'm super grateful for that aspect as well. Welcome to Nightlight, Paige Taggart. Paige Taggart is the author of two full-length collections, Or Replica from Brooklyn Arts Press and the aforementioned Want for Lion from Trembling Pillow Press, as well as seven chapbooks. Most recently, one called Life Afterwards, which is from Third Man Books, and it's only available at Third Man Records in London in a randomized literarium machine. So good luck if you go to London getting a copy of Life Afterwards. She's also the author of Faux Pas from Factory Hollow Press, and I Am Writing to You from Another Country, translations of Henri Michaud from Grey and Ghost Press. She's an artist and a maker with a jewelry line, which you can find at mctaggartjewelry.com. And she's going to read some poems. So, Paige, thank you so much for being here. Take it away.
Hello. This is my first time reading on Zoom, and I had to download Zoom today, and I'm recovering from being sick. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but hopefully fine. I'm just going to read an assortment, some new poems, and something from Faux Pas that was shared online, and I felt like, okay, now I need to read it. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna start with this poem, If You Need Me. Sleep with the magic lantern beside your bed if you need me. Gorging on a tiny light. If you really need anything, sleep with it beside your bed. A few books, chapstick, water, some tender kisses. If you need something that you don't have, call me and I'll mail it to you. It'll be physical, not monetary, an object, a loaf of something. If you need me, I can get a plane ticket or a bus seat. I can get to you on time. Uninsured. I live in danger, great opposition to discourse and common love. Tidy the kitchen, cook an egg or two, then retire to argue about Medicaid over the phone. Clouds put pressure on the internal ear. I internalize my emotions like a coward, cook a mean stew in a crock pot while vacuuming the living room, domesticate my false attire and case sensitive passwords like love you boo 2666. I think I'm boring whilst I used to be bombastic. Haven't had any recent adventures to narrate leisurely over coffee. Any news is familial and not about me, although it touches at the parts of me I've caged off and consider much too vulnerable. Closure is like the word fissure. except without all the holes to poke through. I empty my mind by doing a crossword puzzle. It is both the pleasure of regurgitating someone else's clues and discovering answers that only work in one little box, while all else cannot be. So I'm like, yeah, since I just am doing this for the first time, I'm like distracted by the little chat. And then also my poems, I had Sam print the manuscript at work and he had to double cite it because it's like 212 pages long. I still have to cut like half of it. Yeah, so then the poems are on the other side, so it's kind of fucking me up. So I'm gonna read a poem from Faux Pas that Tom recently shared on his Instagram. So I am obsessed with beauty, even when shit is dire, even when we are in the throes of a fascist world and our planet is melting, and all we wake up thinking is, good God, another day of this. The particulate matter of hatred is spreading itself across everything. But even still, I'm obsessed with beauty. Even still, I have eyes lightened up by nature's performance and the artistic merit found in shapes, textures, objects, songs. I still see fully rehearsed dragging on display, beauty so female, so long lasting, it leaves a creamy residue, sparking unfading motions. Can the lilies frequent as cargo, the purple of jet streams, red air lifting out potions, smattering, undulating mercifully, diving deeper than before? And now I have some poems laid out on my fake window shelf. I'm going to read some of those. And, just sweat a little because it's warm and haven't haven't gotten a good sweat other than just a fever in a while. So soften below, tender the kisses in exchange for fair trade, high alert, time away, barter the soft, shallow lip, push your tongue under like water below bridge, drift the shipment, docks emptying, the waterways no longer neutral. Synchronicity. I'm a poet, but I also design my own underwear. Desist in the open space between my legs, where language has evolved to a bent-shaped cone, pressing the most important matters into the crux of this ornate landscape. The willpower to create has been subdued. The experts want you to work in ways that can be sanctioned, in ways that exploit your intelligence. This information has been gathered from an unwritten clause, passed down over several lifetimes. Once you're fucked, you can't get unfucked. Sabotage is the way our money is collected for wars we don't support, in contrast to the humanity we strive to link up with. The silo is not public. Skim the surface of the sea with your knees bent just so. Radicalize this surface with a pro tip felt pen on a blank sheet of paper. Memorialize the fluidity. Call a meeting of the minds. Sea grab, land grab, take back, take from, whirlpool, word pool. Skim the surface of the tree. On each leaf, you ride the swell of fatigue, an opportunity to cherish the distilled landscape, its leaves taken by petty thieves. Luxury condominiums rise in old grain silos, falling asleep at night without respect to the granular capacity to feed millions. You had previously screamed into the silo, unencumbered. Become capricious. My proposal, my retired corpus, my unjust agenda. In frog's bathwater, I melt between hysteria in the Renaissance sense and post-capitalism's disasters, throwing eggs away, showing expunged embryos. Insert promise of dividends that can encapture time. eclipsing the waterways in unknown hallucinations. Weekly, I feel foggy and would be so much more comfortable on a lily pad. How to manifest this? How to invite malady in an uncorrupted sense? I bow down to the archive, despite my pride, sink my teeth into the industry's equipment. Blessed the devotees of psychoanalytics. I feel fucked up all the time, but am listening, despite unsung politics and a blue-balled healthcare system that's incapable of meeting our demands, that lacks structural nuance, that perpetually fails us, stretched thin by America's need to detox, understaffed and overworked, bending down to suck from the cosmic fountain nipple of impunity. Okay, that is a ridiculous ending. Well, I crossed off like a million lines, so I kind of just wasn't sure which ones I was going to keep, and I was just going to kind of freestyle, and it's like 10 different possible endings. Choose your own adventure for our fucked up country. So fun. Okay. Short films. Can we break down waves of thought with miniature moments of abstraction, cut up lace with rainbow, collage our memories into adaptations finely tuned to poem and song itself? The piano wasn't off key. The tempo was satisfying. I rubbed the glass to make it clean. The glass was finite, something to be controlled, breaking down my envy of the tide, strings pulled, kites flown, gusts that blows peat moss right off the rock. I've come to see that collected with matter, devour and cloud. Cable line, can electric current you and I. Love in the time of gentrification. What could be, what was, what hasn't been, darts unseen, between the things we choose to do and what chooses you, between some scalpel, a night rider. The vegetation sprouts between seeds. We should have known, closer to home, a comfort, a calling, less physical than singing in vain or being seen from higher places. Sprouting like an unclear exercise in supplication. My bitterness jacks the most unseen aspects of a self I have since rejected. What could have been. So suppose we see something akin in a stranger. Do we undress ourselves and sleep under another self? So I can't tell how long I've read for it because it's like a reading. It's like a void. Um, I have a lot more poems, but should I stop reading? I'm just
Do what your heart says, which is probably read more poems.
okay. Some makers, let me have a little. Some makers move soap into cream lather and shower with fragments of sponge. Some makers make a reasonable amount of money by capturing wings and things in jars. Some makers move money and don't make music anymore, but are into muse content and try to amuse civilians who stash warfare equipment in sheds. Some makers shake rhythm-making machines out of fluorescent beams in the closet and kill spiders with their own two hands and crawl backwards on the ground to mimic the daddy long leg. So the web of lies they weave becomes a string to tease witnesses into making false accusations. Some makers marry bankers, become doll makers and oil rig tankers. Some makers move money from one bank to the next and say they're so talented. Some makers are hilarious grillers, grilling sausage and veggie burgers on the grill and making loud, obnoxious jokes like old dads. Some makers are murderers and street eluders and paranoid intruders. Some makers are inheritors of cabinets of wealth and can build perfume closets with special keys that only work one way. And each time you try to open the acquisition of mini bottles, you must get a passcode over the phone that can only be used once, and then you are locked out of the smell stash. Just this once, I'd like to be the kind of maker that you can call on for an artificial sentiment of costume attire, for a big turn up on your head in a dress that blends with the biggest birds' costumes like wings. Who are we but the things we build upon our bodies and pretend are ours? That's a mouthy one to read. Um, cons- okay, I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so I guess I'm going to read one more, like a little bit longish poem and cut two other poems because I don't know. Okay. Sense making mission. Potion of hope, of skill and conviction. Low key with a need, I bend my knee to move closer to the floor. Its warming magnitude, a guide. Humble position of salutations. Low key with a book, next a record player. A red velvet couch and the majority of cushions make a fort. This is not an enterprise or an escape. This is a vase filled with plastic flowers. My poem making content, so fake and in need of rapture. I tie my hair into a bun and pretend to pray. I pause and think about birds, then about shrubs. A shrub inside a meadow isn't a shrub, it's a field. I want to date myself so I can learn to be a better person. When the moon finishes waxing, it'll be like full on a dude named Wayne. Don't take me seriously if you want to survive this pandemic. I'm not a truth teller. I'm a truth taker awayer, a naysayer with a billfold tucked into my magician's cap. The rhyme was like, hey, sorry. Oh, wait, no. Tall and handsome tends to thread this domain. If only all heroes were bandits and heroes and bandits alike. This measuring device isn't practical. I've not wheat or yarn to conduct electricity. Fire me before I hire you. Dear manager, who do you manage? Manage me. Curtain closes from this brand new scene. Can benefit from the debris found in the sea. Its oxidation qualities aren't consumable or part of renewable energy, but they're elastic and not plastic. I've been working with metal since 2003. I've grown to know and understand only about 50% of its materiality. I'm not a specialist. The effort it takes to bend, form, mold, chase, clean, cup, bang, and begin is too eventual. Eventually, it'll become something we can use. Eventually, it'll become something we can wear. We can dis okay, we can display. And like, damn, the Neolithic people had so much more time and patience. Such an abundance of time that the threshold with which to develop materials like swords, spears, shields, and tools with ornate detailing was more common practice. Now we just hold a phone and barely lift a hammer. Can't outlast eventuality, can't extend a life vest to an uninvested subterranean debutante. The back shakes out, the sand falls through the floor. We've been improvising with glass for vessels. We carry water to each other. We've tried to cup it in our hands, but it's not enough. Your lips are cracked like you're wearing a Bronze Age mask, a face full of cinema. Shakespeare would be so proud. His words have lived the longest out of any words, except maybe religious texts. Here, maybe hope can be rekindled or something less serpent-like might crawl out. I have hands cupped again and I'm trying to carry the words across the page. Some slip through the cracks, so dome-like, tall in a heap like a snow cone that's too much ice to consume. I touch your knee and you move closer to me. We improvise, and it's no surprise that it takes so much effort to rise from bed, just to be a person you can't give up on. Thank you.
Dang, what a beautiful start from Paige Taggart, delivering first Zoom reading while sick and just flame set. That was Paige Taggart, immense, as the chat says. Thank you for that. Yeah, that was Paige Taggart, who you can find on social media at McTaggartJewel, MacTaggartJewel. Uh, Paige, in addition to writing amazing books that you heard some work from there, also helps out with a poetry press you might hear referenced a few times tonight, Poetry Press Birds LLC, Long Live Birds. Lauren Hunter and Paige are also collaborating on some poems, which is exciting. Paige also supports herself as a tiny business as a jewelry maker, so please check out mctaggartjewelry.com, and I'll link that in the chat as well. All Paige's friends are doing badass things. I always ask everybody to share shout outs, and I think, there's not enough room in the world to shout out all the awesome stuff that's going on in Paige's and co life. So thank you, Paige, for getting us off to such a beautiful start. And I'm really excited to keep the good times rolling by introducing our second reader of the evening in Sampson Starkweather. Sampson Starkweather is the author of A Week in Late Capitalism / Ancient Capitalistic Proverbs, Song of Attention Deficit Disorder, Pain the Board Game, and the first four books of Sampson Starkweather, sitting right here beside me. My cat's yelling in excitement, if you can hear him at all. And many chapbooks from dangerous and/or defunct small presses. He's a founding editor of the small, independent, editor-run poetry press Birds LLC. And Sampson, thank you for being here and for keeping the good stuff rolling. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom. Wow, this is like a blast from the past. It is so cool to see all of these old friends and superstar poet. I feel like I should just cede my time, and everyone should read a new piece, and we'd have this kind of anyway, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not crazy. This is really cool, Paige. That was so good. That blew my mind. It was so fun. I forgot Zooms could be fun. What the hell? I think with that, I'm trying to be fun, but shit is really dark right now. And I just kind of wanted to acknowledge that, we're in like full blown, unabashed fascism right now. And, there's a ongoing genocide in Gaza. And, it's fucked up and it's sad and it's terrible, and do everything we can to try to, I think we're poets, and I think it's important we tell the truth, because people are being, disappeared and have consequences for telling the truth. So it's important we do that, and look after each other and our neighbors and our community. And so that was my PSA. But I tried to pick poems that were fun, and it was really hard because, like I said, shit was dark. But I am going to start with a poem that is a blast from the past, which has a Lauren reference in it. It's kind of a random ass reference, actually, but this is from an old ass piece called Flowers of Rad, this is actually the first poem in that collection. And I like to tell people it's what was I going to say? I'm proud of the way the first line of a book starts this way. So Flowers of Red. And it has a little epitaph there. All is order, beauty, luxury, pleasure, and calm. And that's from my good friend Charles Baudelaire. I want to go down on you in the garden, be heat, a story without words, only waves of what comes next. You lie like a mirage on the bed in makeshift underwear, smoking the weed that Lauren gave you after her freak out. I stare at the speakers thinking all of life and language just comes from some tiny holes, listening to the wrong Frank Ocean album, imagining the poems I'm gonna write, of friends standing around a bonfire, weed slanging, DJing the deep, dark, no daylight, secretly in love with each other's sisters, wanting to become music, whatever feels most free, smashing the vacuum these emotions swim in. Why succumb when all there is love and the longing for love? Realest shit I ever wrote, as Tupac would say. Rushing back to my high, flat on the bed, I swear we were flying, like that scene in The Wizard of Oz, only calm and in color. Besides, magic isn't the ability to make something disappear, but to make it reappear. Right now, I just want to feel something real. So we kiss the way we used to. Someone in the future will surely make a movie about it. High and drunk and naked and in each other's arms. We fall asleep that way, sort of seahorse with the radio on. And so Tom posted a photo of this old book, and I had kind of forgotten about it. And there was a poem in here that was kind of like an exercise I did, where it was actually like right around the first time Trump got elected, and it made me. I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of frustration, and I didn't know what to do with it. And it's like you don't want violence, so like where do you put all that anger? And so I was like, I'm gonna put it in a poem. I'm gonna put it in like a curse. So I don't know much about magic, but I tried to do this like curse, and I was like convinced if it's strong enough and it's aimed at the right target, like it will happen. So this is dedicated to Netanyahu and Trump. Let's see. I imagine you find this book in the woods. You flip to this page. Here is your curse. Your name is the name of the fear of being found out. You are hit by a car. You are broken up with via text message. You are robbed by a rookie robber who injures himself and sues you. You write airport fiction. I am your dentist. I have hammers for hands. You wake up with a mouthful of dirt and onions. Your neighbors are pedophiles and frat houses. Your dog dies twice. Your soul is a white dwarf in space. You are buried alive with your fucking iPhone. Your organs are used for shark chum. You wake up with a permanent sangria hangover. Black hail falls on your daughter's wedding. Every day, the next day, is the biggest exam of your life. When you say coffee, all people hear is liquid turkey. May you be audited every year by the person in the world you have wronged most. You have telethons instead of dreams. The little black box inside your soul that records your every action is handed to the devil when you die. The beginning. And I'm gonna read this poem. This poem. I have no fucking clue how this happened, but it was, well, I guess Ann Boyer did it. But this poem was in the New York Times, and it caused me a lot of good chaos. What if we call this tenderness? Some corporation or collection agency calls me 3 or 4 times a day. Maybe they're a kind of another mother or ex-lover, genderless and savagely patient. Either way, they're after me. I'm convinced they want my poetry. I take it wizard level at dodging incoming calls, go invisible at the grocery store, pretend to live in a world without money. My answering machine is me crying in French. Oui. Call me 914-573-9721. Please leave me something tender. This next poem is like a ransom note kind of thing. Like I'll probably ask Eric Amling to make like like cut out the different letters, make it look. Anyway, this is called List of Demands. All we want is life, a bossless world, a cosmic commons, all the animals and people set free, our souls bought and sold, given back, the land given back, the planet resuscitated, respected, nourished, loved, to be able to breathe. All we ask is for everything and more. It's called Ars Poetica. I'm doing that thing. This is called Ars Poetica. Oh, that's, Paige doesn't know how to mute herself. So if you hear laughing, that's Paige's never been on Zoom. Ars Poetica. Words got us into this mess. Hallelujah. Real as a rock hurled at a cop. Harmony is difficult work. We seek these songs, the brilliant dark inside us, the light of which shines through all the walls, bricks, and bars of the world. Love covers everything in an ancient blue moss. This is a poem I wrote just like because James Wright had that poem with that ending, and I was just like, I don't know, I just wanted to fuck with it. So it's called Poem Like Nobody's Watching. And I have a chapbook coming out called Poem. Well, if it ever happens. If Tim is in the Zoom room, if it ever happens, Tim. Poem Like Nobody's Watching. You know how chapbooks are. No one ever publishes them. Okay, yeah. This is to amend James Wright. The sky is a lie, a too blue mirage offering the unbroken illusion of escape, like some bad ad for a low-budget heaven. Last night, I swear the stars just gave up. It was beautiful. So I had a beer and imagined a poem about worker one strikes, depicted in snow globes. Shake, baby, shake. Break, baby, break. It was a love poem, obviously. There's no such thing as a non-love poem if you're doing it right. Damn, don't you love the way new dads look disheveled and dazed, wandering out of the co-op with a baby strapped to their body like a bomb of pure life as the sky darkens and the stars start their slow commute to work, and me with this chorizo burrito, I have fulfilled my life. Poem Like Nobody's Watching. Alarm clock of bombs. Another day of death, money, the news, death, money, death, an aggregate of capital intentions. The ripped ligament of civic mercy hangs as a fine thread. So I don't know. So for survival, berserk ATM spit free healthcare. Landlords are torn apart by wolves. Police become food or flowers. Prisons are replaced by clean air, pure water. A boy can dream. The Lord is furloughed, not a separation of church and state so much as a decapitation. 11 seconds of government-sanctioned sunlight, so-called citizens subjected to dream theft, spiritual and actual debt, kids kidnapped in broad daylight for saying, stop bombing babies. What polis, what sterile wreckage, work and love, wet entrails on the steps of eternal empire. Maybe the revolution is simply to survive. Besides, you're probably sick of love poems, but there comes a time when only anger is love. Come, let us be together in the loneliness of this crystal fact. Poem Like Nobody's Watching, or nobody's listening. Another registered voter fucking up daily. Linear time sucks, like asking a flower when it will bloom. We all know life is the shit from which it all grows. Long live life, long live life, we sing at the protest against death in its army of many names and incorporations, lotus posing in front of the before math. The ocean knows another form of revolution where everyone feeds and gets their needs met. Seaweed knows what I mean. Resilient, flowering, iridescent, at home, making a home for others to live, thrive, and breathe. Baby, be seaweed with me. And I have a couple of these. Man, I just spilled some water. I have a couple of these like little ditties, these new things, and I figured this is like a safe space to read some potentially bad shit. So I'm just gonna read a few of these. Shame-shaped cloud. The lilacs are at it again with their racket of life. Nobody's fool. As we futz with words, mere meat. And what's up with the dew? Mother Nature or whomever sure knocked it out of the park with that one. How the hell are you supposed to write a poem after the dew? Suicide hotline. Rocks in my chest. I crawl out of this black swimming pool on the edge of crime, craving a fragile urgency and a cold Modelo. God knows love and tennis courts are two things that always come correct at night. Baby, don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Dissonance season. The city is sinking. No, literally. A world of birds underwater is where I work. A barge of sighs goes by like a float for some useless holiday. Sky University. Rah, rah, rah. Austerity measures. Hard to jump out of a building with no windows. Miraculously, I keep not dying. It's this little game I play with time until the game ends, then nothing for a little while. Ars Poetica. This is so weird. This is kind of random. Quasimodo, I sometimes think, for no reason, akin to a thin magic, light conjuring. Each night is a room we tiptoe out of like an extra body to store all this excess beauty and junk of the soul. The rent is ridiculous. May it be like rain and all that falls, goes the old saying, though I tend to leave language to its druthers. This could just as well be a drawing, I sometimes think. No horses were harmed in the making of this poem. American Prom After Party. Time gets bored too, waiting on us to die. Flowers in the hard drive, bats in the pool skimmer. I like to think of my loneliness as a winged thing, an enemy of the state, salsa dancing with solitude in a red dress of quiet fire. Is it me, or is death getting kind of fat? Work commute. Stand clear of the closing doors. Life seems to sing, groceries, groceries, gone. The song I hum in my head in the dark on the train, electricityless, trembling in the thrum, flowers in the graveyard begging to be touched. Rain goes the wrong way. Each ache knows your name. Police on the platform. I mumble my little spell. Groceries, groceries, gone. TMZ. I wonder if the wind is famous to say certain leaves. They get nervous in its proximity, or cumulus clouds, asking for autographs, shades daydream, little invisible diva. Ask not what knowledge of wanting awaits your presence. Delicate bare feet, leaving tiny prints in the sky. This poem, perhaps. I'm going to dedicate this one to Ben Mirov. Just out of the title, sounds like a Ben Mirov thing. It's called The Oldest Machine in the World. Fist fights of light, acoustic clouds, bright thunder, storm, who names you? Dew in the garden of music, always dawn inside us. Wait, what if faces are slow blooming flowers? God is only a moment, noticed or not. What if we paid attention like we were in love? The poem is a listening device. Here, put this in your ear. Okay, there's like two more. Sorry. Negative capability. I came on the moon. Decades of light, then nothing for a while. Thong song of subjectivity. Wrong, 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 wrong. Raw dogging the infinite. Unbury this river. That there is a name for this, daylighting, destroys me. Like a loose starling sucked into an airplane engine. You can't suture a moment or the afterlives of desire. Finger banging God in the back seat of a shitty Civic. Sometimes you got to sing to the eels. A painting of this. Darkness. I trust. It never lies. As for the dead, they want what they want. And this is the last one. Must be a blues. Time gives up. Tomorrow's a joke, a punch to the solar plexus. Every death demands a song. Lay back in the lush counterpoint of being alive, in this deafening dissonance of now. Sunlight at midnight. Flowers grow backwards. Even the dirt comes clean. Take this scream as our flag. Maybe night is just a long song the day sings to survive. Thanks for uh, being here.
Thank you for being here. What an abs I'm wrapped. I am like in it. I'm laughing. I'm sweating. I'm typing things in the chat. That was Sampson Starkweather, who you can find on some of the social medias at Sampson Starkweather. Sampson also runs the Press Birds LLC, and wanted to shout out the upcoming books. They've got The Mirror in Our Music by Fred L. Joyner. And Birds LLC's most recent publications are Stephanie Colley's No More Flowers and Ryan Eckes's Wrong Heaven Again. Also wanted to shout out per Sampson's like early moment in the reading. There's a current urgent fundraising campaign for Khalid Hamad, an artist in Gaza who Sampson is collaborating with and Birds are on their next book and needs emergency funds to support Khalid, her family, and her community under siege. I'll put the URL in the chat, and you can also support her by buying her art directly at another URL I'll put in the chat. Also wanted to shout out that Birds has published Lauren Hunter's book, which is right here, handy dandy. Excited to introduce Lauren in a second, but also hoping to publish her next book as well as books by Ben and Paige. What a time to be a Birds LLC super fan, everyone. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. An amazing way to enter the back half of our reading order. I'll put some URLs in the chat in a second, but I want to start by introducing Lauren Hunter, whose Human Achievements, again, is a book that has been with us through two states. When we donated one copy, we kept the one. I don't know if this is going to show very well, but like Christy, my wife, would read books and use these little like metal markers to be like, that's a good one. So I kept the one with all the, all the favorite poems shouted out. So I'm excited, Lauren, for what you're going to read. And Lauren is a poet and editor and the author of Human Achievements from Birds LLC. She lives and sleeps in Durham, and we're so, so, so happy to have her here. Lauren, thanks for being here. I'm excited to hear what you're going to read.
Thanks. Wait, okay. I'm organized-ish. This is really exciting. It's so good to see so many of your faces in like moving real virtual space. I am going to read a couple of random pieces of things. And I feel like this is like the only opportunity that I'll get. Like, okay, so I'm going to read the last poem, like one of them from Human Achievements, and like I'll take requests because I don't know which one to read. So I did this project where I was invited to go outdoors in Raleigh and spend time in nature. And it was an experience that I'm not an outdoors person. So we were doing it as the poetry collaboration kind of thing in a workshop. And so I've been writing a lot of poems about outside and nature, both being outdoors during that experience and kind of, I have a lot of windows. So I spend a lot of time looking at, like, I have a really gorgeous backyard that I barely set foot in. So awaiting permission, typically I feel and am apart from this invitation to deepen, to stretch. It's unfamiliar outdoors, a pretty rush, and I do adore wind on my face, but at what cost? I can't rest here, can I? Unwelcomed by joints and bones and hours, what's left to reclaim, to rewrite? No matter what city says, I hear the pressing no surrounding my body outside. Public pressure to be less or less. Wind and sky rustling, a different attitude, like, come on, come on, come on, come out. I want to press my hands, my shoulders wide and back against grass and sky and space, linger like a body might find belonging, a place, a peace. Grounding and allowed to fill space with an inconvenient body and let wildness love it back. To cultivate what's lost, they take precaution, and I can honor that. I am all regulation and preparation. I give what belongs a little space to take root and thrive a bit, not cultivated, but welcomed, wanted, a tender whisper affirming, this is yours. You belong. Come on back home. The silent apology hanging like a switch midair. We promise we won't. We will. We promise again. I'm reading this one that is not properly lined. Couldn't find the final version where the line breaks are real, so apologize. This gorgeous welcome too late. I will daydream from my own safe backyard of this tender slope, swaying grasses, little rise of brush. What I long to drag my fingers along across as if lazily petting a sweetheart might mean something. You want a little more and that's okay for you. You walk about what's owed you and you're right. Preserved apologies for inconvenient histories of displaced, replaced, misapplied, misunderstood spaces. Is better what we know now? Is wilder what we'll allow? Though invited, the ground unwelcomes me in my stilted gait. Should we lay a while? Is it safe to be here? Is there space for my anxieties and warnings about where and when and not? A minute early, in case I'm wrong. Restrict to release the land or my physical body compressed in braces for a nice walk. The support we need, a kind of pressure to be observed in earnest by the most well-meaning eyes. The land recovering from enforcement, and I'm not that far yet. I'm terrified of this and that. So I've been writing this pamphlet with Paige, and we take turns and kind of have been writing back and forth. And so I'm going to read my parts, but it's going to be really weird for you because there's these gaps in between that you can fill one day. It's sort of titled, I'm going to say it wrong, Paige. Against violence, I want nature's calm denials. Feeling supple like a succulent vibe, sunning oneself on a wide windowsill. It's like the ground, the earth beneath our feet or hands is ours, firm and soft and malleable. Pressed against is the verbose drug. I want one more and then more. I want everything and photosynthesize haphazardly with arms wide and full of blue. Consider a twirl, seed in midair, spinning. Gravity, an impossible gift. A right way is possible, probable, but inconsequential. If fingertips betray a spark, if the breath catches on the teeth, well, a walkabout is very sensible. A way home, if they will it. An allowance that auto refills. But the fear whines. No escaping a cage without walls, but the fear maintains. Well, there are a few other ideas. Taking this space, wide hips and strong legs, striding over some desert lands, lost lands, better to roll about in the dirt and feel something, even bugs in the hair, little caterpillars defiling the window screen for what? Some little glow? Getting to know it or be the voice in one's own head whispering, yes. What I own and could certainly defile. What I desire and could definitely deny. Eclipse eve in the garden, crickets belting against something metallic or plush, my feet so soft underneath. I go missing every blank or so. I find a different hold to crawl in or out of. It's a constant denial of the power in my palms. Erased, belittled, unembraced. Some stars of great comfort. The north and south nodes fluttering like a tiny dying spark in the wind. Give me more, we get more. A breath or cough is living, you know. Away from offices, I'm still a trapped animal of rules and white laws. The night soothes, but lives for the unknown, unseen. Underneath understanding, there's something without give that gets it. Here, mountains laugh at molehills, and I'm languishing with delight. Against violence, I want nature's calm denials, calm destruction, an experiment of loneliness, a superpower if we're two. Boundless and don't say it. I find two and grasp rightly, the waning twilight, cresting moons. If I stay out till sunrise, 50 mosquito bites and the moths in my mouth. A slow march, seasons turning, a slow swell to warmer rot. With new hips, I am gliding over inconsistent dirt, but my ankles still swell. Leaf depth for the greater good. To be a tree, I am failing delightfully. I desire to be both the ignition and the spark. An evergreen dancing in a windless room, unbothered by walls. Look in those hands. They're holding clay, dirt, and moths, and big ants, and new things that want to be things and grow in the dying season. A mossy pond that decides to flow. The divine, a thread or kind of buttress, a thing one can grasp and cling to and rest upon. A lot of noise means nothing. A lot of talk is only air. It's wiser to measure the distance between molecules, a rush, the rush, to break down to basics in order to start over, every day starting over. If only I thought to begin the day with my arms stretched wide open, calling shit in. If only the rushing was a gentler thing, made for teaching and building and buttressing up. I'm thinking about building blocks of clouds and people, and it's too quiet in my mouth and hands, and we work in our rooms and watch windows, clouds or people drifting by, and suddenly a couple of ladybugs wandering aimlessly across the screen. We're calling it because it's ours to call, this report made while crouched on the edge of a cliff we've leapt before. Okay. Organizing my life. Okay, I forgot what I was going to read after that. So I am going to read something from Human Achievements, and it is The Cave of Anti-Fear. We crawled inside a sort of comfort bomb. We can be here. We can be here for hours. We can talk about trees we cannot climb. We can avoid the F word. We can shed our timid sweaters. Nothing to look at but the tops of our own knees. I assume you're etching the same hieroglyphs into yours, and I am a warrior. You are too noble to require tears. We can beat the panic back with our bare hands. We are growing tougher than stones. Thanks, y'all.
Amazing. What a beautiful, beautiful reading, Lauren. Thank you so much for those wonderful poems. And I also realized I totally said I was going to put some stuff in the chat after I read Samson's thing. I forgot. But that was Lauren Hunter, whose amazing, amazing work you can find on, I believe, Lauren, you're on Instagram at breakfast.etc. So if you want to follow Lauren on there and keep an ear to the ground for that beautiful new collaborative chat that you heard some stuff from with Paige, I'm excited at the lacuna that we heard and what's possibly in there in between those parts that you read. And also, yeah, I've heard tell, keep hearing tell of these new manuscripts that might have bright futures at Birds LLC. So if that's a thing, I think we better listen for new Lauren Hunter shit coming sometime in the not too distant future. So thank you so much, Lauren, for being here. This is like such a beautiful moment. This is also like such a bittersweet moment because we're on our last reader, and I like just want to, summon infinity and let it take us into the midnight abyss or what have you, and just keep this going forever and ever and ever. But I could not ask for a one more wonderful last reader to introduce in Ben Mirov. Ben Mirov lives and writes in Oakland, California. So glad that Ben, with a 3 hour time difference, you're here and the sun's still out where you are. Super excited to hear you read. Thanks for being here.
This is wild. Let me see. Yeah, this is wild. I have a lot to say, but I'm just going to read these poems instead. Top rung is not a step. I keep forgetting what I want to remember and remembering what I don't. Like the purpose of the calyx during intercourse, or how many xenomorphs it takes to cuneiform apocrypha. Nothing on my treasure map, but olive tree, gopher hole. Directions to the posthumous masterpiece. Use the peepholes in the portcullis to see the cadaver by the waterfall. Just like my father used to say, never touch the conch until you've washed your hands. Or was it the other way around? It doesn't matter. Even he is glowing, gone. Like the part of me that believes nothing is forgotten. Like the dew that always disappears. Notes from the voice in my head. If you listen with the ear in your mind, you will hear a voice in your head, like the sound of the ocean in a hell. And if you ask the voice to tell you about the meaning of quasars, it will disappoint. But if you listen to the voice for many years, perhaps, it will whisper something about the mystery of love or the secret of your fishhook sunspot $1 life on earth. And surely the voice will fade as years go by until it is nothing but a murmur advising itself. And then who knows what becomes of the voice. Nobody, not even the voice, as it travels to the very brim of the bone bowl, and then over into what it cannot say. Chrysanthemum is a beautiful word, but other words are needed to act as a scalpel, to lay bare the mystery of the chrysanthemum. There are those who spend their entire lives renting out their craniums to the chrysanthemum's question. I too have no idea what the chrysanthemum is for. Is it a deadly narcotic or a soporific medication, a skeleton key, a manner of defenestration? Can it be used in the production of capital? Is it a beacon adrift at the edge of space and time? If you want to know the reason the chrysanthemum exists, better ask the chrysanthemum. Don't look at me. I'm just a volunteer who sweeps up after the chrysanthemum is gone. This is like the only prose poem I've written in, I don't know, like a decade. I wanted to say that because maybe, I don't know, you can't tell it's a prose poem. We'll see. How I came to own my fortress. My team had very little water and even less to eat. First, Witherwood succumbed to Vespers and died on his hands and knees. Then Shadowplow retired to a glade deep within herself and did not return. Dustmonger was the last to go and faded into the ether right before my eyes. Only my trusty eagle and I remained alive. When we reached the fortress, it gleamed like a faceted jewel. I knew I had to choose between my eagle and the fortress, for the two could not survive as one. I looked at my eagle, who'd hung her head in contemplation or despair. I could not tell. Time passed like a swarm of locusts, rending little pieces of us as it went. A needle of light traveled 1,000 years to meet my eye. I turned to query my eagle, but she'd flown away. I squinted hard and saw her disappear into the night, a tattered ghost in a world of dreams. Snowbridge. Who knows what's waiting at the other end? An unremarkable tundra stretching out as far as the eye can judge? Possibly a penumbra, some lesser god composed of ladders, laughing his ass off. Perhaps another bridge. Before you cross over, it's important to ascertain the nature of the snow bridge. What does it do for the world? Can it even carry an ibex? Is it a metaphor? Can it tell you who you are or who you will become? Never mind, it's no use. It might as well be built of pure insouciance. Better to put your trust in the money bridge, which is old and reliable, unlike the snow bridge, which was just born and has already begun to disappear. Notes on the river. I will grow old and mysterious to everyone I love, even myself, but the river will stay exactly itself, as if it had a choice, as if it could unriver into something else, a funhouse mirror, a nucleotoid sequence, a very large signature writ by a tremulous hand, a kind of reminder it's too late to retrieve your crampons from base camp or to relive the moment you learned lingerie and laundry were two different things. In this way, all rivers are the same river, even the one you carry inside yourself. It too will remain exactly what it is, even after you are gone. This is awesome because I feel like I wrote all these poems for poets. So it's rad that, I don't know, you guys are all poets. This one's for poets too, I guess. Notes on the project. I spent years and years on the project to no avail. I wasn't even sure what the project was for. I lay each of its components there in the moonlight, a tenuous grasp on a vertiginous childhood, a pair of goggles made to see the worst in those I love, a vial of jealousy and a trinket of regret, a wrinkled persimmon almost ready to eat. A chunk of ice ignites as it passes through the mesosphere and dissipates without a trace. Some parts of the project are unbearably sad. Another part of the project, that's pretty good, I said to myself and put it in the project. And then I paused to catch my breath before returning to the project once again. Just a shadow. Someday I will live in the forest. I will eat very little food. I will conduct no work. I will grow lithe and strong. I will look at my wife perched on a rock, a hungry doe without a home, sleek and mysterious, nimble and wise. I will hear my children's voice coming through my cell, and I will tell them they are not alone, that their mother and father will always love them in the world that is a dream, composed of many smaller dreams, forming a brittle structure in which we all must live. Then I will place the cell in a puddle of rainwater in the empty lot behind the CVS. I will no longer need it now that I am a deer, and then this deer will disappear. Notes on choosing a vocation. Everyone must have some kind of gift to give the world. And if you have no gift, then you must provide a service to others so that they might offer their gift to the greater whole. But the last thing you should do is spend your life waiting for a mystery, barely visible flecks of pain splattered on the canvas, a series of handwritten loops where the poet once stood. XOXO scratched into the protective glass around the sheep's head. Sculpture of a seagull at the bottom of the pool, bringing the last drops of butane from the manuscript into a shot glass, emerging after days and nights in the mirrored casket, hand outstretched, when you realize you could have been a mediocre baker or the guy who lights the candles in the window of the monastery after everyone has gone to bed. All right, penultimate poem. An egret is not the answer, but maybe you don't have a question at all, or an answer eludes you and you give up the search. Then what will you do with your time on earth? Will you give it to someone in exchange for bread? Will you spend it whispering into a giant stone ear? Will you use it to catalog the names of the dead as you wait on the pier until the vulture god comes with his harpsichord and glassy eyes to take you to the other side, where there are no questions or answers or pinpricks poked in the tapestry so light shines through on a fleck of dust, searching for an egret down at the estuary, until the dust grows weary and must return to the place from which it came. If only you could be like dust. What a simple life. You search for an egret and then you blow away. The rules. are different every time, but several remain always the same. Rule number 1, distrust what you see. The world is but a guise beneath which lies another fecund with forms, revealing themselves to those who seek them. Rule number 2 is the negation of the first. The world is made of solid lies that perpetuate nothing but transformation into dust and death. There are no other rules, but some believe more are waiting on the other side, where the dead live in peaceful mountain villages, eating healthy weeds and breathing pure air. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what awaits or doesn't. I'm so in love with the fucking rules, most of which I'll never know or understand. I can feel them now, making an isopod. Thanks, you guys.
Oh, man, making an isopod. What a beautiful way to bring us to a close tonight. That was Ben Mirov, who lives and writes in Oakland, California, and maybe Birds LLC is gonna fly us a book sometime in the not too distant future. No pressure, no pressure. But I gotta say, y'all, this was such an incredibly special and beautiful reading. I am so grateful to all of our wonderful readers. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Lauren. And thank you, Ben, for being here. The sun has set on Ben. I feel like you got some Zoom artifacts now
I'm
that are,
better this way.
yeah, it's like, all right, welcome to the dark, welcome to the Twilight Zone. I just want to say again, thank you to the audience folks who joined in. It's so great to see a lot of you, and I hope you won't be strangers to Nightlight. We do one of these every month. Next one's in October. Would love to see some of you back here and maybe hear some of you read here because that would be so cool. And I want to end, we always end with a poem. And, I had to do like some sort of Birds LLC thing. So this is another all-star in the Birds LLC catalog for yours truly, Emily Pettit's Goat in the Snow. So I'm going to just read one poem to close us out called Things Happen in the Night and Then It Is Not Night. And thank you all again so, so much. Things happen in the night, and then it is not night. How it is flickering, how there are deer and cattle too, how horns might mean something, how to become star-shaped, how some people can sing, how you hold a hammer and practice and skill. It's all related to the bones in the body. You are my giraffe in this igloo, in this orange, and the table is orange too, and the orange is on the edge. And I am on the edge. And later I will repeat, I am on the edge. The edge is both the point at which something is likely to begin and end. This is the astonishing power of generosity, how it is infinitely complex, how it cools outside, how we wonder, is this acceptable? How you hear so often, okay, 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 okay. I'm okay.